Hey folks, Mark back with another vinyl update. This time going back through the last 6 months, first part of 2016, and spotlighting all the 45s I've picked up. I've been kind of leaving them out of the past videos because I've run out of time. So the idea is to go through as many of these as possible. They've all come from various sources, various stores, wherever I have been able to find 45s this year. And that is what you're about to see here. If I can remember where I got it, I'll let you know as I go. Alright, so if you're into 45s, this could be a video for you. Anyway, hope you're all doing well. We're going to start with Moth the Hoople. I found a 45 of All the Young Dudes, and it's a promo. So it's got one side in mono and one side in stereo. Found a really cool 45 by a British band called the CC. They're kind of a 60s psychedelic, jangly guitar band. They're kind of a little West Coast vibe to them. I think you might like them if you're into Black Angels and, I don't know, Neil Young even. This is called Golden Honey, and it came out on, I'm not sure what label it came out on, but it's out in Britain. You can look it up on Discogs. Gold and Honey by the CC. Good band. Here's a reggae 45 by Gregory Isaacs. It's called The Village. This is a repress. It must have come out in, 2015. Just came out last year. B-side is called Don't Believe Him. Gregory Isaacs, one of my favorite reggae singers. The Rascals, late 60s band, and this is a single they did called A Beautiful Morning. B-side is called Rainy Day. Love this old Atlantic sleeve and the old price tag on there of 75 cents. Isn't that cool? What else do we find here? Rayon Beach, a band from Austin, Texas. Saw them about 5 years ago at Austin Psych Fest, and I thought they were really, really good. Kind of a Mary Chain-ish vibe, but I don't know, a little more power pop. Kind of a, a mix of the two. Death Rides a Horse is the 7-inch. This came out a few years ago, and don't know what label it's on. It's not really jumping out at me, but you can, again, look it up if you would like to know more. Rayon Beach. Fall 45 called Bingo Masters Breakout. Never had the original copy of this. Always wanted it. Have it on a compilation, but the rough trade version goes for some money, so I found a repress. And this came out for Record Store Day this past year on blue vinyl. Bingo Masters Breakout by the Fall. One of my favorite groups there. I really, really like most of their stuff. I haven't kept up with them lately, but followed them all through the 80s and 90s and so forth. Swedish band Red Sleeping Beauty. Don't know how well you can see this, but this is a new single they put out called Me Amor. They've gone in a more synth pop direction. They used to be kind of a jangly, I don't know, Bell and Sebastian type group. If that's a loose comparison. But these days, they've gone a little more synthy, and I quite like it. Mia Moore. Here's one I found. It's a split by Nikki Sudden, and the other side is by Red Cross. So it's just a 45. It's actually 4 songs. Nikki Sudden, a group called The Broken Jug, Red Cross, and Feed Time. So it looks like it came with a magazine. So, wow, it was cheap. I picked it up. Ocean Color Scene. This is back when they were a little more Manchester-y sounding. They had kind of a more baggy vibe to them in 1991. Today, Yesterday is the single. They later went on to have a lot of huge hits over in the UK in the mid-1990s, riding the Britpop wave. That's an early single by them. Great single called by Scarlet Party. This is their second 45 called Eyes of Ice. Just a good power pop, kind of jangly band from the UK in the early 1980s, 1983 to be exact. They did 2 singles for Parlophone, and they did an album, which I've heard tracks from, and it's pretty amazing, but the album never got released. So I'd love to see Cherry Red maybe should do a CD reissue of Scarlet Party. Good band. Look up the song 101 Damnations. You will love it if you like. It reminds me a little bit of Badfinger had been around in the early 1980s. Really catchy. The Cuban Heels, a Scottish band. These guys were the remnants of Johnny and the Self-Abusers, late 70s Scottish punk band, who split off into Simple Minds, and the other guys formed this group, the Cuban Heels. This is a single called My Colors Fly. Came out on Virgin and their own Cuba Libre label in 1981, I believe. Yep. They're good. They're a little like the Fire Engines, Orange Juice. Who else? The Go-Betweens, maybe early Go-Betweens, a lot like that. Here's one from the Dandy Warhols, Plan A. This came out on colored vinyl, and it has a cover of the Jean Genie by David Bowie on the back. Some minimal electronics from a guy named Martin Lloyd. This is called Lamont Electronique. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's a 4-track, 7-inch on the Minimal Wave label. It's very bleepy blippy synth pop. Less on the pop side. If you like John Fox Metamatic, you might like that. Another synth band from the early 80s that's a lot like what I just showed you. Sudeten Kreisha, I think is how you pronounce this group's name. Take a look. Sudeten Kreisha. I think that's how you say them. I know a couple of tracks by them on a compilation I have of just a lot of synth pop songs. And so I found a 45 by them called Glorious Treason. This is a re-release, and it's on the Analog record label. Sudeten Kreisha, the EP is called Wounds. Early 80s minimalist synth pop. Best way to describe it. Hawkwind, live version of Silver Machine. Found a 45 of that. That's kind of fun. American release on the United Artists label. Fish's Eyes by New Fast Automatic Daffodils. I have the CD of this and never did have a 45 of it. Just good. It sounds a lot like the Happy Mondays, you know, that kind of thing. Baggy Manchester pop from 1990. This might even be from 91. It's out on the Play It Again Sam label. So, don't see a date on it, but I think it's 91. What's this one? It's on Buddha. Oh, the Brooklyn Bridge. And You'll Never Walk Alone. It was cheap. I picked it up. I like to buy things on the Buddha record label. This one was kind of fun. Hot Sauce. No, Conga by Hot Sauce. Latin tinged disco from the late 70s. Kind of fun. And it was on the, I believe it's on the Hansa label. Let's see what label it was actually on. No, Charisma. There you go. Hot Sauce. It was $1. The Yummy Fur. This is a band that later morphed somewhat into Franz Ferdinand. I know Alex Kapranos was a member of this group at one point. This is a little more experimental. Earlier stuff I'd heard by them is a lot more garagey rock sounding. This was not so much that way. A little more synthy, minimal kind of thing. And the single is called Shoot the Ridiculent, Part 1 and 2, The Yummy Fur. Aztec Camera, never had this. The Pillar to Post 45, I always loved this sleeve. Came out on the Rough Trade label. Its B-side is Queen's Tattoos. Copied that in good shape. Here's a 60s band called the Piccadilly Circus. And this is a new release of a couple of unreleased tracks from the 1960s by a band called the Piccadilly Circus. It's called Till I Get to the Top. This is put out through the My Mind's Eye label, local Cleveland label. Here. And have me a little glass of water here. Talking makes my mouth dry. So here's another one. Another Pretty Face. All the Boys Love Carrie. This is Mike Scott before he formed the Waterboys. This is a band he had, and they were based out of Edinburgh, Scotland, and this came out in 1979. All the Boys Love Carrie. Another Pretty Face. Post-punk, punk rock kind of thing. Zambient 2, a couple of re-releases on the ZTT label. These might have been part of the 7-inch box set that came out. I'm trying to figure that out, but I got them loosely as not part of that box set. This is Zambient 2. It's 2 songs. One is by Heights of Abraham. The B-side is by Lisa Stansfield, and they're covers. The Heights of Abraham does Dolphins, which was written by Fred Neil, and Lisa Stansfield does the Prefab Sprout song When Love Breaks Down. Kind of cool. I actually like Lisa Stansfield. I've gotten a little more into her. This one by Andrew Poppy, also on the ZTT label. It's called 32 Frames, the New York Edit. Andrew Poppy. Kate Bush, December Will Be Magic Again. Never had this 45, always wanted it. Really like this song a lot. Kind of her Christmas song. I believe it came out in 79. No, 1980. So, Kate Bush, December Will Be Magic Again. Salem's Pot, good stoner rock band. The Vampire Strikes Back is the name of the 45. And the B-side is called Graveyard. It's a cover of a Dead Moon song. Salem's Pot. If you're into kind of heavy stoner rock, they might be your thing. UB40, early single called My Way of Thinking. I always try and pick up old UB40 records when I find them. Really like their early stuff a lot. A couple 45s by a Pittsburgh band called The New Hope that I like a lot. This is one called Rain, out on the Jamie label. And this is another one called Look Away. Really good harmonic pop, not unlike The Association, maybe? Something like that. The Yachts, Liverpool band, power pop band out of Liverpool. Love You, 7-inch that came out, I believe, in '79. Yes, it did, on the Radar Scope label. And Henry Priestman wound up later forming a band called It's Immaterial, and then leaving them to form the Christians in the mid-1980s. So they're a good band, power pop group. If you like Elvis Costello, Boomtown Rats, and that kind of thing, check out Yachts. You might dig them. Here's a group called, who are they called? The Brood. Looks like an all-female group, The Brood. The single came out on Get Hip, very 60s throwback kind of moody, jangly track there. It's called I Need You There. The Brood. Sandy and the Sunsets, I believe they are a Japanese group. It's called Sticky Music. Sandy and the Sunsets. Good kind of disco-fied new wave from the early 1980s. Via Vagabond, Who Likes Jazz? Can't tell you much about it at all, except it's on the Stiff label. It was okay. Didn't blow me away. I don't remember it being particularly jazzy, but it's been a while since I played it, so maybe you should YouTube it. Via Vagabond, Who Likes Jazz? Another one on the Get Hip label. This is by Jetlag. It's called Star. It's a 4-track EP, and it looks like it was originally included with an album, and so it looks like it was sold separately. But they cover Hungry Heart by Bruce Springsteen, and I love the swirly label here. Reminds me of the old, I don't know, somewhere between the old Roulette label and the Capitol Swirl. Here's another one on the Medical Record label. This is another piece of minimal synth. It's called Pressures, and it's actually a double. It's actually a split, and I can't figure out if the group is called Pressures and the song is called The Voices, or vice versa. The B-side is Glass Statuette by Rolodex. Minimal synth, bleepy blippy synthesizer pop. 60s mod stuff from the Action. This is called Since I Lost My Baby. Good stuff if you're into like The Who, Yardbirds, and that kind of thing. Here's one by Sweet Jesus, kind of a pre-Britpop band from the UK, early 1990s. Glamish band. If you like Suede, you might be into them. And this is a 45 they put out on the Rough Trade Singles Club label in 1991, November of 1991, called Honey Loving Honey. Good stuff there. Like them. Clock DVA 45 called Resistance. This came out on Polydor in 1982 or 83. And a good little piece of funky pop from Clock DVA, who went a lot more electronic later on, signing over to Wax Trax. The Party Boys, He's Gonna Step on You Again. They're covering the John Congo song that later was made popular by Happy Mondays with Step On. And this is a decent stab at the tune, The Party Boys from 1987. Found this for pretty cheap. U2 double 7-inch to Fire. You don't see this much. Has a good B-side, Jay Swallow, and then some great live cuts, 11 O'Clock TikTok and the Electrico. A couple of my favorite U2 songs. So I was glad to find a copy of that. Double single. Baby Lemonade, this is an early Creation band. However, this single did not come out in Creation. It came out on an independent label. And the single is called Secret Goldfish. The Real World is on the Other Side. Good C86-ish style pop. Found a 7-inch to Over, Under, Sideways, Down by the Yardbirds. Was glad to find that. Found this one. I like stuff on the Soul label, offshoot of the Motown label in the late 1960s, early 70s. This is by the Originals, called Baby I'm For Real. Nice little soul ballad there. This one is a later track on the Stax label called I Belong to You by the Rance Allen Group. Decent stuff. Mid-70s soul. Here's also something from the early 70s soul track by Ruby Andrews called Gotta Break Away. Yep, got on a Soul 45's kick. Here's another one on Stax. Johnny Taylor. Always like his stuff. This was called I Could Never Be President, and It's Amazing. Love that finger snap on the Stax label there. Here's another one by Lynn Collins. I was going to say the JBs. It's Lynn Collins. This is a different one called We Want to Party, Party, Party. I have her other one, Think About It, which was used as the basis for Raw Bass and DJ Easy Rock's It Takes Two. This is another single she did. Lynn Collins, the female preacher. Telly Savalas. It was a buck. I had to get it. It's Telly Savalas. Yes, Mr. Kojak, covering If by Brad. How could I not get it? Here's a 7-inch by the High Manchester Band from 1990-91. The guitarist used to be in the Stone Roses, Andy Cousins, and this is a 4-track live EP that they put out sort of to coincide the release of their album. Box Set Go is the lead track and was released a couple different times as 45. How we doing on time? 15 minutes, not bad. I think we're going to get through this stack. Not much more to go. English band that were highly lauded around the late 1980s called Birdland. They were on the Lazy label, which was the home to the Primitives and also My Bloody Valentine during this time. And they were all bleach blonde, punky power pop. Good stuff. And I have 3 of their 12 inches. Well, this is one I never did have called Everybody Needs Somebody. And it came in a little 7-inch pack with, oh my gosh, I think it had like postcards. Yeah, maybe even a button. So had to pick that up. It was real cheap. Then I picked up some of these 45s at New York City Pop Fest. Went to there this past May. Had a lot of jangly bands play, bands like the Chills, Even As We Speak, Railway Children, the Primitives. Saw all these groups there. And the Jigsaw record label, a little jangly independent label here out of the U.S., had a stall set up, and they were selling some 45s. So they had some splits that were all relatively cheap, so I picked them up. This one by Beach Vacation, and the other band is called Afraid of Stars. These are all kind of jangly, shoegazy, kind of a mix of jangly and shoegazy bands. Think Lloyd Cole and the Commotions, Go-Betweens, that kind of thing. Here's another one, the Tomato Meters, and on the back, Skittle Alley. Here's a Japanese band that played New York City Pop Fest last year that I thought were really good shoegaze type band called Wallflower. They do a split 45 with Fireflies. I think they're called Tiny Fireflies, but this one just says Fireflies. So maybe it's a different group. And then the last one was by Pale Sunday. And on the back it was Postal Blue. So all very good. If you're into that kind of thing, then you're into it. Sally Shapiro is a Swedish act. Synth poppy, not too unlike Pet Shop Boys, but with a female singer. And the group is called Sally Shapiro. That's not actually her name. But this is a new 45 they put out called If You Ever Want to Change Your Mind, and it's super catchy. Try and YouTube it if it's up there. Sally Shapiro. Really, really catchy. She has a real pretty voice. What else here? And Suddenly by the Cherry People. This is a late 60s sort of harmonic pop band taking a stab at the Left Bank single, And Suddenly. Found a picture sleeve of that. And then a band from the UK that also played New York City Pop Fest that I was quite enchanted with, a jangly band called Allo Darlin'. Found 2 45s by them. One called Europe, and another one called Bright Eyes. Allo Darlin'. Another band, this is on the Fortuna Pop label. They're called Chain and the Gang. Love their name. And the single's called Never Been Properly Loved. Chain and the Gang. Jangled pop. What else we got here? A couple reggae 45s from a stall that I found in Brooklyn. It was a big box of all reggae 45s. These were a little more like later reggae, more like reggaeton, dance hall kind of thing. Not totally my thing, but not bad. This was called Party in Session. It was by Beanie Man, Mr. Vegas, Buju Batan, and Kaimani Marley. I'm sure I mispronounced some of that. And then Spraga Benz. It's called She No Ready Yet. Spraga Benz. I quite liked the version on the B-side called Filthy. That was the one I liked better. Now I found 3 represses of old Tamla 45s from the UK. Like the logo. This one is by Chico Leverett. It's called I'll Never Love Again. This one by The Miracles. That band was Smokey Robinson. It's called Way Over There. And then this one by Nick and the Jaguars called Ichabod No. 1. Nick and the Jaguars. Just a few more here. Fear of Men, new band. This is a lithograph 45 that actually sounds like crap. Not very good sound quality. But good music, though, within. Luna is the name of the single. Fear of Men is the group. And it's a lithograph 45. Figured why not. A Madness 45 I found for $1. The Sun and the Rain. I always like this song. This is from their Keep Moving album. I believe it's from Keep Moving. And the B-side is called Firefall XL5. Madness. A band called Mercury Girls. They're a new signing over to Slumberland. I believe they're on Slumberland. Check that. Yes, they are. And they played New York City Pop Fest, and I quite liked them. Mercury Girls. This is a new single called All That Heaven Allows. This is a good one called The Fairlight Myth. If you're a fan of Peter Astor of the Weather Prophets and the Loft, this is a synth pop duo that he has formed. I'm not sure who with, but they're called The Fairlight Myth, and it's called Alpha November. Check it out. This is the brand new release. Band out of Columbus called I. Good psychedelic band. This is a single they put out, I believe, last year. And the single is called Backdoor Jane. I. If you're into kind of stoner rock, heavy psych, check out I. They're good. Good live. Then a couple 45s on the London label. This one called Tasamba. It's by the disco sound of Andre Gagnon. I hope I pronounced that right. And then I picked up one by Gary and Dave called Where Do We Go From Here? Nice slices of 60s pop there. And then last but not least, a 60s band. They were called The Chargers, and it's called 4 by The Chargers. Good garage rock there. All right, 21 minutes. I went through a huge stack of 45s. That's what I picked up over the last few months. If any of those sound appealing to you or you know a little more backstory on them, leave me a comment. Let me know. Anyway, got a couple more videos I'm going to make. I have a whole bunch of vinyl, 12-inch vinyl I picked up over the last couple of months that I want to go through. Probably have to break that into 2 videos. We'll see how that goes. All right? Have a good rest of the week, and we'll talk to you soon.